Good afternoon. Today I'm going to talk about how we would like to integrate ANF Export into Microwave Office. The way we're going to do this is to add a button to Microwave Office's Export menu so that the user can click on ANF, and in the background things will happen, but the net result will be that an ANF file is produced without further user intervention. So here's what happens in the background. When you click on ANF, first the Microwave Office program will have to generate Gerber files for all of the conductor layers and also for any vias or throughs that connect those conductor layers together. Second, the Office program will have to create something that we call a job file, which is an ASCII file pointing to the locations of the various files that are going to be processed. And finally, the Office program will create a command line used to launch the NETEX-G Manager program. So here's a little more detail about how this is going to work. NETEX-G Manager is actually a wrapper or manager that handles a number of executables and libraries that do the various steps required to go from the Gerbers into the ANF. So you call that on the command line pointing to the job file, and the job file points to the Gerber files, and NETEX-G Manager will then control the processing, and finally it'll output an ANF file and it'll be done. So that's the user won't see any of that because that'll run so-called the background. So let's talk about what these files that we have to produce are. This job file, as I said, is an ASCII file, and it has three essential sections. There can be other data, but these are the really essential sections. The first one is something called a stackup. This defines your conductor stackup and also the connections between the stackup. You have a stackup position, you have an arbitrary name, you have a type, which is either metal or dielectric, and you have a thickness. And then you have the properties of each layer, and these are in fact optional. If you don't want to pass them or you don't know them, you can put in dashes there. But if you know them, you can put in a material and a color, conductivity, dielectric constant, and a permittivity. And this stuff will get passed to the ANF file. The next section in the job file points to where these Gerber files are to be found. So you can see it again refers to the stackup, and then it has a full path to each Gerber file. This name need not match the name you gave it in the previous section. It's indexed by stackup. And then there's a parameter normal or reverse that tells us whether the CAD data is normally drawn or whether it has been drawn as a reversal, as many power planes are. And the final section tells the program about the drills or the vias. Again, it points to a file, which is a Gerber file, and then it tells us where this drill starts and where it ends. By knowing that information, we'll be able to create the connections between layers. It can just connect two conductors, say 1 and 3. Remember, these are stackups. Or it can actually go through a pair or all of them. This 1 through 7 would go through top to bottom on a 4-layer design. So you can also combine those. So this supports buried vias, blind vias, and through holes. Those are the three sections of the job file that has to be created. And now we'll look at the command line. So the command line is fairly long, and it has various directives to run the conversion. I won't go in detail because they're documented separately, but let's just look real quick. Of course, you have to start the NETEX Manager. Then you have to point it to the job file you just created. Then you have to also tell it where you want the output to go. And finally, you tell it where it can store its temporary files, which will be erased when things are done. Then there's a variety of arguments, maximum points, some arc resolution parameters, output type obviously is ANF, Leonov output is a type of polygon we should use, silent means don't generate any messages on your own, and some things arc resolution. So when you launch NETEX Manager and pass it as information, it's everything that it needs to know to produce the ANF where you want it to be done. So that's basically it. We'll discuss the issues of how to create all those files separately. Thank you.